Hey, how's it going, everyone? It is Drago. We're back with another episode of the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest anime, episode 12. And this episode covers chapters 39 through 42 of the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest manga. Starting off talking about things I liked in this episode. Lucy using Kana's keys is honestly such a fun Easter egg because if you know what magic Lucy was initially supposed to use at the beginning of the series, it was card magic, but then it later got switched to the gate keys. It is kind of cool to see her use it, even though it doesn't go entirely well for Lucy, but it is kind of cool to see her hold Kana's cards. And Kana is the fastest rebounding drunk there possibly is, because she's drunk 1 second, perfectly sober within like a minute. And how much damage does Kana actually cause? Because if she was about to whip out fairy glitter in a drunken state, oh my goodness, what is she doing on a regular basis? So talking about Natsu versus Wraith, there really isn't too much of their fight. It's mainly Natsu fighting a possessed version of Makarov, but you get a lot of the Wraith flashback with his memory, revealing that he's a former Fairy Tail member. And honestly, it was just kind of fun to see older characters young again, and you also get little cameos from older characters, aka like Hades or Precht. You get Yajima in there, even poor Yusuke. So quickly talking about Loxus versus Kyra, then kind of transitioning into Loxus versus Urza. I love how Kyra is absolutely so insane and honestly like falling in love with Loxus. And honestly, Loxus, it makes pretty easy work of her. It really isn't that much of a challenge, it seems. Which basically segues immediately into Loxus versus Urza, which doesn't really go anywhere. That's just a setup for it in this episode. But it's cool that you get Urza back in her Lightning Empress armor once again. And kind of speaking of Urza, she tied up Jalal in kind of a devious way, because she obviously kind of references Tower of Heaven, and that plays on Jalal knowing what she's gone through. And they actually made her scene a little bit more revealing with her tying him up than the manga version. But gosh dang, Jalal is still so insane, and like he's like so into Urza tying him up. It's like, okay, Jalal, tone it down a little bit. And Wendy's fight is honestly just so silly with her fighting in a cocoon. Like, I honestly have such a hard time taking this fight seriously just because it's so silly just seeing her run around in a cocoon and trying to fight this guy. You do get a bit more of an advancement of their fight, but it doesn't really go anywhere this episode yet. And honestly, that fight and just subplot has been the one I've been enjoying the least, and even when I read it, I didn't like love it insanely that much. So what are your guys' thoughts on this episode? Leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and this is Drago signing out.